Hi, everyone. Welcome to our closing ceremony. Hope you guys are having a great day. My name is Gabby Carver, and I am the Corporate Partner Relations Coordinator for the Center for Career Development. On behalf of the Career Leadership Experience Committee, first off, I would like to send you a warm congratulations on your completion of the certificate program. We hope you enjoyed your experience over the past 9 weeks and were able to learn some new skills to further your career readiness. Definitely take advantage of this program and be sure to add this experience to your resume. Before we get started, I just want to go over a few items with you just so you know how to participate in today's webinar. You should see your attendee interface on your computer desktop in the upper right corner. You're listening in on your computer speaker system by default, but if you would prefer to join over the phone, just select telephone in the audio pan and the dial information will pop up. You will have the opportunity to submit text questions by typing your questions into the pan of the control panel. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation, although we will be addressing those at the end of the session. Once you leave today's webinar, you will also be directed to an evaluation, and we would appreciate if you would complete that and provide any feedback. We will also be recording this, and an emailed version of it will be sent to you within 24 hours. With that said, I would love to introduce our two guests that we have with us today. First is Jim Lowe, and he is the Assistant Vice Provost and Executive Director of the Center for Career Development. Welcome, Jim.
Thanks so much, Gabby. Really appreciate you having me here on this call today. And thanks for all the students who have joined us either in person or who will be watching this after we send it out via email, the recorded version of it. So first of all, I want to applaud you all for taking the time over this past summer to build some of your skills. We have a corporate advisory council that consists of our top 20 hiring employer companies. And one of the things we've been talking to them about pre-COVID and actually now is what are students doing to augment their professional development. So I think as you get into the interview phases, as you move forward in your career, you're definitely going to get the question, what did you do the summer of COVID? And if your internship evaporated or for whatever reason you couldn't get any kind of meaningful employment, and by meaningful I'm talking about skill building employment, you have a great answer now. So like Gabby said, be sure to put this on your resume, but also be sure to practice the answer of what did you do with your COVID summer? Oh, I had a great skill building experience through a 9-week interactive experience that I built skills in this, and this, because I think that's going to really differentiate you from the student who didn't take advantage of a program like this. And I think our final number was somewhere around 350 students have completed this program, which is an awesome number, so I applaud you all. But for students who didn't and just didn't take advantage of the time that they had during this very unprecedented summer experience, aren't going to have a good answer for that question. So it's a great way for you to differentiate yourself. Also, I just want to put a plug in for the Center for Career Development as we move forward. We've been providing all of our services virtually since we left campus mid-March. So if you want to talk to a career counselor about your experience either in this program or resume development or interview skills building, just go to Handshake, schedule an appointment, and one of our many career counselors can have that meeting with you and walk you through how you best articulate your value proposition to our employers. We're still having our fall career fair, which is going to be a 5-day event. As many of you know, that's typically a 2-day event with about 300 employers over in Gamble Pavilion. We're going to have just as many great employers looking for student talent, but it's all going to be virtual, and we're breaking it down by career community. So it's also a great opportunity for you to meet with a career consultant to talk about how do I navigate the career fair? What types of opportunities should I be looking for? How does my background support those opportunities? So those are all great things that we can assist you with. In addition to that, our website, career.uconn.edu, has invaluable resources in how you position yourself, how you create messaging statements, how you utilize social media, all of those as well. And I'm sure you've learned many of this over the course of the past 9 weeks, but I just want to emphasize all those great resources. And last, a plug for the university. Even though we're not going to be here 100% for the full student experience, Every department on campus is providing services to the students, whether they're here in stores or on one of our regional campuses, or whether they're taking all of their classes virtually and doing it from afar. You're still part of the UConn family. We still value your participation, and I really encourage you to take advantage of the wealth of resources that every department across campus is offering. So with that, I'll turn it back to Gabby, but I just wanted to say congratulations on completion of this particular coursework over the past 9 weeks. I'm sure you've built some great skill sets as a result of it. I hope you have a great fall semester, and looking forward to seeing everybody when we all come back after this thing is behind us. We'll have some great stories to tell, but right now I know a lot of people are feeling a lot of uncertainty, so we definitely appreciate that and wish you and your families and your friends and loved ones all the best. So back to you, Gabby.
Thank you, Jim. So next I would like to introduce you to Aaron Ryley. He is the account executive of group sales with the New York Mets. Aaron is from the class of 2017 and graduated from the NEAG School of Education with a bachelor's degree in sports management and a minor in professional selling from the business school. During his time at UConn, Aaron served as the vice president and later president of UConn Sport Business Association, and also completed multiple internships within marketing and sales. One of Aaron's internships was with the New York Mets as a ticket sales and service intern, and upon completion of his internship, Aaron was offered a full-time position with the Major League Baseball team as an account executive on the group services team. In his current role, Aaron oversees $1.7 million book of business that he is responsible for maintaining and growing, that consists of businesses, youth baseball leagues, first responders, unions, schools, and much more. Aaron is also a member of the management and training program with the Mets and is responsible for training, recruiting, and developing future leaders in sports and business. So Aaron, welcome, and we are very much looking forward to you talking with our students.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for having me. Really honored and proud to be here. So me personally, the career services team is something I always worked very, very close with during my time at UConn, and I promise Gabby didn't tell me to say that. As soon as I got on campus, I knew that I needed to find ways to separate myself and find ways to differentiate myself from other candidates, because we're kidding ourselves. We know any job or internship we're applying to is very competitive. So the littlest things you can do to make yourself stand out can really go a long way. So I was constantly knocking down their door, doing resume critiques, doing mock interviews, doing cover letter critiques. So the fact that you guys took advantage of what very easily could have been a lost summer, a summer where it's really easy to kick your feet up, watch Netflix all day, play video games, exercise, but exercise is good, I'll give you that one. But a lot of time to do stuff that wouldn't be productive for your career. The fact that all of you guys, a wide range, Gabby let me know, from incoming freshmen to people that had their internships unfortunately taken away from them, to take the time of 9 weeks to better yourself and invest in your career is going to go a really, really long way. To Jim's point, the COVID question is absolutely going to come up. That's going to be a great way to differentiate yourselves. I'm really proud to be a part of this, and proud of all you guys for completing the program. So I know Gabby hit on it a little bit, but I'll give you a little bit more of my background. I always think it's beneficial to kind of hear from employers of what their career path looked like and what they did to separate themselves to ultimately land that position. So I'm originally from LaGrangeville, New York. I'm sitting here in my childhood bedroom due to this pandemic instead of being down at Citi Field, so this is unique for me. Put up some, we got a hockey jersey and a football jersey behind me there, repping the Huskies, but always was a huge sports fan, knew that I wanted to work in sports, but really wasn't sure how or what to do. So I was looking at schools in the areas. I was between UConn, I was between Syracuse. Clearly, I made the right decision there. So as soon as I got on campus, the UConn Sport Management Department is a department that you need to apply into. It's not one that you're automatically granted access to as soon as you step on campus. So I knew that I had to, step in as soon as I got there, soak up as much experience as I could, and also, make yourself, I put my in the best position to land that spot in that program. So freshman year, I lived in Litchfield and North. So if we got any North folks in there, shout out to you guys. And there I enrolled in a lot of the undergrad classes early on, but knew I wanted to work in some of the athletic departments to start to get my feet wet and see where I fit into the sport industry realm, because I really didn't know how I wanted to work in sports. So I got a job with athletic operations, so I worked a lot of the game day events, from field hockey to basketball to football to lacrosse, you name it. Working with the visiting teams, the officials, and making sure the event actually went smoothly. My sophomore year, I got involved with the UConn Sport Business Association, where I was the vice president and later president. That was a really great opportunity for me to network, meet a lot of individuals in the industry, and learn about what it is exactly that they do. So that way, when I was ready to start applying for positions, I had a better idea of what to expect. So if there are a lot of clubs like that on campus, so highly recommend getting involved with different opportunities so you can learn from guest speakers, their experiences, and see if their experiences are something that align with what you could potentially see yourself doing down the road. So also worked with athletic marketing. So I was out there chucking t-shirts into the upper deck of Gamble Pavilion, throwing out my shoulder. I was out there, coordinating the different spot shots and all that good stuff that we love and see. So that gave me a good experience with the athletic side of the business. Speaking of that, I got to give a plug for this. Bought this my freshman year. We won the national championship. A little cereal box with Kevin Ollie and Gino Auriemma on it. Can't say I've eaten any of the cereal. I don't know how good it's been now 3 years late, but when everyone was running to the grocery stores to grab stuff during the pandemic, that definitely crossed my mind that if desperate, I might have to eat some of the Husky Heroes, but luckily didn't have to stoop that low. But again, so when it came applying for internships, I knew my resume was in a good spot. I felt confident with how to write a cover letter, make sure I did a separate one for each employer and why I thought my skills aligned well with the job characteristics. But I was applying for all kinds of jobs in different sports fields. And I never really saw myself in sales. That's one that never really crossed my mind. When I think of sales, I always think of like a sleazy car salesman, someone that's just in it for a quick buck. So it wasn't something that necessarily piqued my interest. But one of the jobs I did end up applying for was a ticket sales and services internship with the New York Mets. I'm not sure how well you can see my screen, and behind me you can see a couple Phillies logos in my childhood bedroom. So I am actually a diehard Phillies fan. I never, ever, ever would have pictured myself ever working for the New York Mets. I've seen some Facebook posts when the Facebook memories come up on my feed that are like, Phillies beat the Mets, ha ha, these kinds of things. Like I was not a big fan of the Mets, but I think what's really important, the lesson behind that is it's really important to chase the people, not the logo. When I took the internship and was lucky enough to land that position, I was hesitant. I was like, I don't like the Mets, but I was like, you know what? This seems like a really good opportunity, and I feel like it'd be silly to let it pass by. One of the best decisions I ever made. As soon as I got there, I saw the culture that the Mets had created was so welcoming, so invested in career growth, and ultimately I fell in love with sales as well, which again I never saw myself doing previously. So not only during that internship did I get to interact with some high top level clients by helping out some of my colleagues, I got to actually get on the phone and make some live sales calls and book some appointments with prospects. I also got to see kind of the ins and outs of how a ticket sales office runs. And when I went back to UConn for my senior year, I knew that if given the offer, I wanted to go back and take an inside sales role with the Mets. So took that role with the Mets, have been able to land a couple promotions since then. As Gabby mentioned, I now oversee a $1.7 million book on our group services team. That book of business consists of company outings, consists of first responder groups, consists of large unions, youth baseball leagues, so a whole wide range of business. And ultimately, the goal is not only to maintain that $1.7 million, but also grow and expand that through the same account, doing multiple events, through referrals. So it's really, catering to that book of business, but also looking to expand that as well. And also recently, I guess not so recently now, it's been almost a year, I'm involved with our management and training program, which again is a big reason why I wanted to take the job with the Mets. The management and training program is one that has placed 7 of the last 8 inside sales directors across the sport industry. And what that means is they're overseeing their own sales team, training, recruiting, and developing kind of a sales team from scratch. So that's something I knew I always had leadership aspirations, something I wanted to get involved with. and now I'm lucky enough to be a part of that program. So within that role, I do all kinds of looking at resumes. I do a ton of interviews. So this is definitely something where you guys, what you did in this program here, will separate yourself, because I can promise you I've seen some really bad resumes, and I know that the UConn Career Center is putting you guys in a good spot. So again, kudos to you on that. But so that's a little bit more about me, so you don't feel like you're talking to a complete stranger. But a couple things Gabby had asked me to hit on was a little bit about leadership. So leadership for me really breaks down into 3 tiers. It's being a leader of people, being a leader of process, and being a leader of development. So what that means is, for me, a leader of people is someone that's, I like to put it as a player's coach. So I would never ask any one of my people to do something I wasn't willing to do myself. So from a sales perspective, whether that's going on a sales appointment with an entry-level rep and meeting with a CEO and being there for them and walking them through the process and helping them, whether it's if I'm asking you to make 100 outbound calls a day, previously in my career, I've been there, I've done that. So it's never asking something of them that you wouldn't be willing to do yourself. Another big thing for them is being there from both a personal and professional side. So I've had a lot of great mentors and leaders in my role with the Mets, of people that have taken me under their wing and made sure that if I had any questions or any concerns, that they are always there for me. And those are some of my closest friends outside of the office as well. So obviously in a leadership role, it's a delicate balance, but being there on a personal side as well, and being a human being and not just seeing solely the company first, is very important to me as well, being a leader of people. The second one is the leader of process. So leader of process, there's a reason why a process is in place, is because it works. So that proven track record is really important. It's important to stick to that. There's Joel Embiid, the 76ers trust the process. Very true. As much as you can ingrain that and continue to use that, what's been proven successful is going to continue to work, and that's why it's in place. But it's important too, right? If things come along that you need to adapt, it's important to just not keep trying to shove a square peg in a round hole. It's being able to adjust and find new ways to be innovative. And I think this COVID situation is a great example of that. If we were trying to do the exact same thing from a sales perspective that we were doing pre-COVID that we were doing now, it would never work. So we're working on making out, digital decks that we can set up Zoom calls with clients, since we're no longer able to get face-to-face and things like that. And we'll see how that works. I mean, who knows, when we're back to a normal climate, and maybe more beneficial for some of our sales reps to conduct a Zoom meeting with a client in Manhattan, opposed to taking, an hour of their day to take the 7 train from the stadium to Manhattan and back. So something to think about there. So that would be a big thing, is being adaptable as well with being a leader of process. And lastly, it's being a leader of development. So seeing someone, for my role, would be recruiting them from the start, whether that's right out of college, whether that's at one of our workshops, seeing them actually take a role within the Mets, training them through our onboarding process, and then developing them into a professional seller, and being there to help them take the next step in their career. So that's kind of what leadership means to me. Another thing Gabby wanted me to hit on was marketing yourself. So I'm sure that's something you guys talked a lot about in your meeting, but it really is important. And what we say a lot at the Mets is perception is reality, and that's really true. So I'll give you a personal anecdote. When I first started with the Mets, my perception that I was kind of the class clown. I was just wanted to be friends with everybody, social butterfly, but didn't necessarily take my career as seriously as I should have. And it took someone pulling me aside to really point that out to me and be like, listen, why are you here? Are you here because you want to work in sports and you want to be friends with everybody? Or are you here because you want to grow a career? And that really allowed me to take a step back. Am I still a fun guy? I'd like to think so, but I'll let you, the jury's still out on that one. However, it's now my career is very important to me, and continuing to grow as a leader of people, process and development, something that's very important to me, and also being someone that's a big revenue producer for the company is important to me. So I would challenge all of you guys to take a look in the mirror and think about your perception. Not only do how you see yourself, but think about how your classmates see you. Think about how your professors see you. Think about how potential employers see you, and if there's something that doesn't align, really think about that, think deeply, and think about how you can potentially alter that. Whether that's an employer may see you as selfish, but you don't see that. So you think your idea is always right, and you're not really willing to listen to other people. But if you can recognize that in yourself, you're going to thank yourself, because you'll put yourself in a much better position. So the more you can reflect and really think about your perception, that's going to be important for you as you move forward in your career. Another thing that I always think about from marketing yourself perspective, I do a ton of interviews, as I mentioned before. And when I give interviews, my favorite question to ask right off the bat is, tell me a little bit more about yourself. And you would be amazed the amount of people that will just rattle off the resume. I went to this school, I did this, I did. And meanwhile, during this interview, I have the resume pulled up right next to me. So I'm just reading exactly what they're reading. The really important thing I would say is as much as possible, if you guys, sounds like you did a little bit in your elevator pitch exercise, would be to communicate in stories. Be able to tell your story without just reading exactly what your resume is, because every single person on this call is a lot more than what is on their resume. The more stories you can speak to, opposed to just reading the bullet points, but instead really explaining an anecdotal example that's going to resonate with an employer. When they do 10 interviews in a row, a great story is what's going to stand out, and something you're like, hey, I remember when John said that was really impactful. So one thing I'll recommend, there's a book here, it's called Tell to Win by Peter Guber. Highly recommend checking that out. Shows the value of storytelling, a lot of really cool testimonials in there of ways that he's been able to utilize storytelling to win some really big deals in order to persuade people to let him into their companies and things along those lines. So I'm only about halfway through, but highly recommend it. I think that's a really good read and one that could really impact all of you guys. But I guess to conclude, again, I just want to congratulate all you guys again. This is a great job that you guys did this summer. I know it wasn't the ideal summer that you pictured, but again, the fact that you took the time to invest in yourself is going to pay off long term. And don't think that just because this is over, you did what you were supposed to do, you're all good now. Like, continue to use the Career Development Center as a resource. Continue to work on your resume, continue to do mock interviews. That's only going to better yourself. And once those internship opportunities resurface, job opportunities start to open up more, you guys will be ready to go. And I have no doubt that the Huskies will be flooding the workforce once things open back up. But Gabby, I'll turn it over if there's any questions or anything else you want me to touch on.
That was great. Thank you so much, Aaron. We really appreciate you joining on the call and speaking with our students. I think it's a lot of great information that you gave them and a lot of great advice. So at this point in time, we will open the event to anyone that has any questions. You can put those in the question box and submit them, and I'd be happy to read those to Aaron. So I'll just give it a couple minutes.
I know I talk fast too, so if there's anything you want me to, the few things I would say as major takeaways would be chase the people, not the logo. So again, I took that role with the Mets, would have never envisioned working for the Mets, which would have been a huge miss in my career if I didn't take that opportunity. So don't think in just sports, like don't take a job at PwC just because you think that's going to be, the accounting firm, one of the big four. If there's a smaller accounting firm that you think has really great people that have a vision, like, don't be scared to take that role. It's all about who you work for, and then you'll grow under that. So that's a big one. And then my other one I'll say is, as much as you can, work on your storytelling capability. That will go a really long way, especially in interviews, if you're able to concisely and passionately tell your story. That's going to resonate with employers.
So Aaron, well, we're waiting for a question or two here, and it's okay if we don't get any, but my question for you is, how do you think you would have managed in your role now had you not had that internship experience? Like, how did that tee you up for success when you actually started your full-time job with the Mets?
Yeah, absolutely. So with the internship opportunity, I was in a unique situation where I actually got live sales experience at the Mets. Whereas most people that enter our role, just to give you some background, in a normal year, we would have typically 5 interns that would be rising seniors. And then we usually have 13 or so members of our inside sales class, which would be entry level. So a lot of times, ideally, if an intern impresses, the plan would be to bring them back the following year. So really, they would have a leg up in the sense that they know a lot of the product knowledge. They know the different offerings we have. They know how to use our ticketing system and all that. So that's a huge leg up. However, we've certainly had people that started as an entry-level representative that didn't start in the internship that have equally as much success. So I would say it set me up in the sense that I had a lot more familiarity. I had a lot more familiarity with the sales process, with the product. But as far as, it's not like for the Mets example, you need to have that internship prior to doing that. We certainly have other people that start in that same role that didn't necessarily go through the internship program.
Great, thanks.
Awesome. So one question that came through, what is the best career advice that you've ever received?
Best career advice I ever received would be, let's see, I've said chase the people, not the logo. So I'll go to, I would say be comfortable with being uncomfortable. There's a lot of times in a new role, especially, we're going to be asked to do things maybe you've never done before. Especially, I mean, personally, I can speak mostly from sales, but if you guys have specific questions about other industries, I can certainly look to get those answered for you, or I can do my best to take a stab at it. But from a sales perspective in particular, obviously making a cold call the first time is very intimidating. You've never done so before, but I think it's trusting the process, learning from other people, knowing that that process is in place because it's proven that it works, and just put yourself out there. I mean, Jim, back to your previous question, when I started in inside sales, which is entry level, I actually didn't get off to this roaring start that I was expecting despite my previous experience. And I think it was kind of because I was in a shell a little bit and I wasn't letting my personality show through, especially when you're on the phone speaking with a prospect. The more that you can let your personality show and just be yourself, the more people are going to want to talk with you, the more people are going to want to meet with you, and the more success you're going to have. I couldn't tell you how many people I've closed business with that I had thought would never buy tickets or buy an outing or buy season tickets, that due to the relationship that we built was like, I really like this Aaron guy. I'm gonna make this work. I'm gonna buy a package. So the more you can have your personality show is key. So the more you can be uncomfortable with being or comfortable with being uncomfortable, excuse me, will certainly pay off.
Great. And another question just came in. Would you do anything differently in your career path knowing what you know now?
That's a good question. I would say no. I think for me, the biggest thing was I didn't know that I wanted to do sales. So I think like earlier on, I suppose if I looked back, I could have done more things earlier on, but I don't know if that necessarily would have done anything different for me. I think the more you can experience different things to see what you really like if I didn't take a sales role, I would have never saw the passion I have for it. I would have never saw the potential career growth behind it. So if I was so pigeonholed, I only want to do marketing and had tunnel vision on that, then I may have never found that opportunity. So if I could go back, I think to my whole college experience, I wish we won more basketball games my sophomore through my senior year, but Dan Hurley and Gino Auriemma is going to be the new dynamic duo. So I'm very excited for basketball to resume. But no, I think everything I did, I think was there was thought behind it, there was strategy behind it, and I certainly wasn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I think everything kind of happens for a reason. And obviously, the more you can set yourself up for success, the better. But I don't think there was anything glaring to me that if I could have done, I'd be in a different spot now.
Right, and if I could just dovetail onto that for a second, there's a pendulum that kind of swings between the extremes of two different types. The one type of individual starts their career and immediately says, I don't like this job, I don't like this company, and they jump ship and they go to something else. And then they go to something else, and then they go to something else, and then they go to something else. And that's not necessarily good. I think what is good is realizing you don't like it, realizing what you don't like about it, and then having a plan to find something better as opposed to just moving from thing to thing to thing. So that's one side of the spectrum. The far opposite side of the spectrum is when you talk to somebody who's 5 years out, they've been in a job for 5 years, they haven't grown in the job, they're not learning anything new, and they've never liked it. And you ask, well, why haven't you done something about it? And the answer is, well, I know this, I'm comfortable with it. And it goes to Aaron's point of be comfortable being uncomfortable. Because if you're not learning something new, I would say every 1.5 to 2 years, you're losing early ground in your career trajectory. So when you talk to CEOs of companies, if that's your ultimate career goal or leadership experience, and you talk to them about their early careers, is they were growing with organizations, and when they stopped growing with those organizations, they looked for opportunities to leverage that success to something better. So it's all about planning, because if you don't plan your career, nobody else is going to do it for you. So you really need to have that plan. So I would love to talk to Aaron 2 years from now and say, are you still growing? And if he says no, my question is going to be, then why are you still there? And if he says, because I love the Mets, I'm going to remind him of this, not to follow the brand, but to follow the passion, and tell him he needs to move on to maybe the Phillies or something else. So anyway.
Phenomenal point. Couldn't agree more.
All right.
I'm going to expect an email, Jim, in 2 years. I'm going to write this. August 12th, 2022. I'll look out for an email from you.
There you go. I'm going to diary that.
All right, so I just got another question. It says, hi, Aaron, thank you for coming out to talk to us. I wanted to know how to go about looking for an internship for my field and what kind of experience matters when applying. What if I don't have the experience that they're looking for?
Great question. So I'll tackle that in a couple of ways. One, I would say right now, in addition to what you've already done this summer, a great way to learn, I'm not sure exactly what field is being referenced, but if you could do a potential, go on LinkedIn and find different employers in different fields or different companies, or network within your personal network of people, whether it's your friends that are out of college, whether it's parents, and find different roles within that industry, and just do like a person, or what's it called, a professional, what's the word? I'm blanking here. Not a, basically like an informational interview is what I was looking for. There we go. So yeah, so basically just have conversations, learn as much as you can, and just pick their brains. Like, is that something you see yourself doing? That's a really good time to do this now, especially with so many employers working from home. It's much easier for them to do that than it would have been in the past. So have those conversations, learn more. As far as securing the internship without an experience, most people for internships don't usually have experience in the field, depending on what it is. And I think that goes back to storytelling. The more that you can say, well, I did this, which would translate to that, that goes a really long way. I had a conversation with a UConn student that played lacrosse, and she was telling me that she wanted to get into sales or marketing, but she didn't have any experience, and when she's on campus, she doesn't have time between her school schedule and her sports schedule. And I explained to her it's all about how you angle it. I mean, again, I don't know this particular student's background, but it's all about how you angle it. So when she says she's a student athlete, think about what that entails. So a student athlete wakes up really early, goes to class, plays games, travels. So they're responsible for the same workload that a student is, but is also playing a sport on top of it. So putting that into a story that really paints that picture of, hey, I'm very regimented and disciplined, and I'm up early, I do this, I'm competitive, I excel in a competitive environment, I have a positive attitude, I'm coachable. Like, there's so many tangibles of things that you can use. So even without direct experience, you can still tell that story to an employer if they say, what experience do you have? And to Jim's point earlier, like, be prepared for that question that's inevitably going to come up in a lot of interviews. But then if you're able to prepare for that and be like, I don't have any set experience in this field, however, here are some things that I have done that I think would translate well, that'll put you in a good spot to answer that.
Yeah, and just to follow up on that, that was great, Aaron. If you're looking for industry insights as well, we have a great program, and it's on our website. It's called Husky Mentor Network, and we have a network of over 1,000 alumni from all different industries who have signed up to have individual conversations with our students. So if you're interested in something in marketing, you just need to go in there, search for marketing, find a whole bunch of marketing executives, schedule an appointment with them, have that conversation. You know, part of the whole networking conversation, and Aaron talked about it briefly about the comfort zone, doing a cold call. So just calling somebody you don't know is probably a little uncomfortable for people. So if there's that UConn Husky connection and they've already volunteered to talk with students, it's very low risk. It's not a job interview, it's information gathering. So you can do as many of those as you want. And just go into one of the career communities, pick an alumni that you think resonates or that you'd have a good conversation with, reach out and have that conversation. Very little risk, high reward.
Yeah, to Jim's point, I think we would all agree, like, UConn is a great school and had a very special place in all of our hearts. Like, when I speak to anyone that goes to UConn, you can immediately see the light goes off for both of us and just start sharing stories back and forth. So alumni, especially those that have signed up to help, which I know I'm a part of the Husky Mentor Network, pick their brains. And like I said, they'll love to talk. They'd love to hear more about how much campus has changed since they graduated in 2004, and they're happy to help. So I couldn't echo Jim's point anymore. Use that as a resource, whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's on Husky Mentor Network. Both are great resources, and finding that commonality is an easy way to trigger a conversation. And I would definitely recommend going the Husky Mentor route for that. For other things, as far as LinkedIn goes, you can find a commonality, where they're from, things like that. And in the connection, instead of just blindly sending a connection, hoping they connect, put a couple of blurb in there. Hey, I'm also from Newton, Massachusetts, or something like that. So that way there's that commonality. It'll be that much more likely to get a response and open to a conversation.
Great. All right, so I don't see any other questions. So we could wait another minute if there is any last minute questions, if anyone wants to ask Aaron or Jim while we have them here. But if not, we'll wrap this up, and we'd love to just congratulate you again and thank you for being with us today.
Thanks so much, Aaron, for your time today and for volunteering for the Husky Mentor Network. I know that's meaningful to many of our students. And thanks, Gabby, and the entire Center for Career Development team, Ami, Kelsey, everybody who put this program together that's culminated in this virtual celebration today to celebrate your success. So thanks for having me. Again, thanks, Aaron, thanks, Gabby, and everybody else on the Center for Career Development team who made this possible.
Thank you.